Hi Archers! Today we're beginning part 2 of the Secret Ultimate Strategy Guide for Archero. If you haven't watched my first video, then I highly recommend giving that a watch before starting this one. Part 1 of this series, I speak about how to increase your attack and attack speed for free, boss and level rerolling. Even though it got patched, the level rerolling still works, and how to maximize the benefit of the devil. If any of those tricks interest you, there will be a link on the side of the video here and the description box below. In this video, my goal is to drastically improve your chances of beating a chapter, any chapter you may be on. Also, we all know that Archero can be a little difficult, so I'm hoping that the secret tricks in this video will smooth out your gameplay experience, or at least make it a little easier. Please note that some of these can be considered as glitches, so there is a chance they will not work anymore in the future. My name is Teeds and I make many videos from guides, tier lists, updates, news and more. Please do subscribe and click the bell for more Archero content. Let's get into it. Number 1, speed leveling. I've spoken about this briefly in my Archero farming guide. However, I wanted to make sure it's out there and known. So if you haven't watched the farming guide, this information should or can be new for you. Leveling is so important in Archero, and from what I've read, it seems that some players do not place any value on it. Talents are something that can be forgotten as you start taking longer to level up, and it tends to get a lot slower when you're on one chapter for too long. Well, first, I want to talk about the importance of talents. Talents can give you that extra boost in a chapter. It is random, and sometimes you may be unlucky. I absolutely do not like time reward, but I get it quite often. The talents I value the most are Strength, which increases your max HP, Power, increases your attack, Agile, which increases your attack speed, Enhance Equipment, which increases the base stats of your equipment. These talents really can change the pace of your game, so leveling is super important as you are able to purchase a talent roll per level, thus making leveling so important. So how do you speed level? Step 1. Enter a chapter, the highest chapter you're on, because the higher the chapter, the more XP you'll gain. Step 2. Enter the first level. Step 3. Die to an enemy. You can do this quickly by just running into a corner and waiting for them to kill you. Another way is to just keep running into them and die by collision damage. I recommend using this method of speed leveling when you just simply don't have time to play, but you have energy waiting for you. Instead of capping out on energy where it's maxed at 20, just use it all and speed level. If you leave it capped, you don't gain any energy, and all that time that it's capped, it could have been used waiting for more energy. But wait, why don't I just quit the game instead of dying? Isn't that much faster? Well, let's talk about that. A method that some players use is quitting the game when your ability rolls are not great. I do not recommend this method. If you absolutely have to quit a game because you hate your ability rolls, then instead, you should enter a level and die to an enemy as I said earlier. If you choose to exit manually, you will not get the XP for that run, which just completely wastes the energy. Energy is not easy to come by, especially if you're not paying for it. Energy is extremely valuable, so we should be using it to get the most out of our runs. If you use it to just simply exit the game, you get absolutely nothing. Even if you get bad abilities, I would still try and play through the run. Playing through the run gives you the possible item drops and material drops. Not only that, it really helps you practice against the things you struggle on in that chapter, which is so important in Archero. Strategy number 2, boss rerolling, part 2. Now, hold on. Didn't they fix the boss reroll trick already? Well, yes. But fellow Archero Reddit user, Old Reddit, has figured out a way for us to keep doing it even though they've patched it. For all of you who don't know what boss rerolling is, it's basically if you come across a boss you absolutely dread or hate, you can just simply roll the chance to skip it. This is much more relevant in chapter 7, which is an all boss chapter. And do keep in mind that you cannot reroll the end boss. So to do this, step 1, go into a boss fight to see what boss you're up against. If it's a boss you hate, step 2, force close the app completely. Step 3, open up the game again, resume progress, and you'll be in front of the door to the boss level. Those 3 steps was how we used the boss reroll. But now there are 2 more steps. Step 4, don't go through the door. Instead, close the app again completely and then go back into the game. essentially just repeating step 2 and step 3. Step 5, walk through the door. You may or may not have a new boss waiting for you. If not, keep re-rolling until you land on the boss you want. Personally, I don't implement this into my games. I don't enjoy closing and reopening the app, and I really like to practice against bosses I struggle on, as the feeling of success is pretty darn nice. However, I do understand that some players just want to pass a chapter, especially if you've been stuck on it for so long. The longer you're on a chapter, the more likely you're going to feel burnt out from that chapter, which can lead to the point where you stop playing completely because you absolutely despise a certain boss or chapter. I hope this trick helps you with the dreadful experience you may be having. Archero did patch the old one at some point, so there is a likely chance they may patch this one eventually. But only time will tell, and we'll have to wait and see. If I find out they have patched it and it doesn't work anymore, I will leave a comment down below or in the description box to let you guys know. Strategy number 3, dodging. This is a huge thing that we'll all have to do in Archero, and that's dodging. We have to dodge attacks, monsters, road spites, etc. What if I told you that there is a better way to dodge that you may not be applying to your chapter runs? Well, the first tip I can give you about dodging is watch your character. This does not apply for all chapters or monsters, but it can apply to most. Watching your character when you're dodging will enable you to react faster. Because if you watch the projectile fly towards you, you may prematurely dodge, or you may dodge a bit too late. Another reason why you should watch your character: if you watch the projectile, you may just dodge and run into another projectile. I really recommend watching your character. It's easier to keep track of things that are heading towards you. One thing I can note where this doesn't apply is the Scarecrow boss. It's better to watch his attacks from his pumpkins than watch your character most of the time. Remember, this doesn't apply all the time, but it applies to most enemies. As you get into later chapters, you're going to need to practice your eye coordination. It gets harder once you have to track attack animations. So for a few examples, watching the Grim Reapers from chapter 5 as they're about to throw their death scythe, or watching the dragons from chapter 3 as they're about to breathe fire, and watching certain bosses. The second tip: in most cases, don't do full-on movements for dodging. It's a lot better to just do short, quick, and simple tapping movements. So for example, moving up, down, left, or right quickly to dodge projectiles, which you can just do with a tap. If you do a full-on dodge, like running across the map, you're very likely to run into multiple attacks or projectiles. This is because when we're dodging, we generally are just keeping an eye on 1 or 2 attacks we want to avoid, pretty much forgetting the attacks that may be thrown from the sides or so on, resulting in you running into them. There are cases where you do need to run across the map or run somewhere else, but for most, short dodging movements will benefit you way more. In conclusion, for dodging, watch your character for a faster reaction time. Don't do full-on dodging motions, as you're most likely going to run into other attacks, and keep track of attack animations for relevant bosses and enemies. All in all, if this sounds overwhelming, don't worry. The more you practice, the better you'll become, especially for free-to-play players who need to dodge a lot more than those who have gear that can be pretty hard to get for the average player. And last strategy for this video is walking through walls/road spikes. This one is more of a bonus tip/strategy, as I usually don't pick up walking through walls. Walking through walls is an ability that you can only get from the devil, who pops up by chance at the end of a boss fight, usually if you don't take any damage. This skill gives you the ability to walk through walls, which can make it much easier in certain chapters or levels where there are a lot of walls. But this ability actually also grants you the ability to walk on road spikes without taking any damage. I don't pick this ability up at all, as I'm not really struggling with walls or road spikes at the moment, but if you do, you may consider picking this one up for the benefit of both. I did try walk through waters with the road spikes, if you were thinking that, but it doesn't work. It just works with walk through walls. And that is all for part 2 of the Secret Strategy series. I hope you enjoyed it and found it helpful. Please do subscribe and click the bell if you'd like more Archero content. If you're interested in more Archero videos, I have links up in the description box below. Any likes and comments would be super rad, and I also wanted to ask you guys if you have any more tips or tricks for the part 3 strategy guide, then please do leave them in the comments below again. I know a lot of you are waiting for the rest of my hero guide series, and I promise you I am working on them. I will get them out as fast as possible. If you have Twitter, Discord or Instagram, please do follow and join. I thank you very much for watching, and I hope to see you again for the next video. Bye!